know, things have been crazy with all this COVID stuff going on, so I hope everybody's feeling well and everybody had a good time. All right, that being said, this is actually the third video on my channel. So if you're just tuning in now, if you guys want to go back and check out the first two videos, I basically started from scratch going over all the materials you need to make a jig, and we got into tying a couple jigs. So you haven't missed much so far. So if you want to go back, especially if you're a beginner at jig tying and you want to, get the very basics from the beginning, go back, check those other two videos out. If you guys like them, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, like the videos, and if you guys got any questions at all, drop some comments down below as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys had. Also, what I've been doing too, what I plan on doing moving forward, any materials that I'm using on any of the jigs that I'm tying, I'm putting links in the description below as to where they could be purchased. I've been getting a lot of my skirts I get from fishing skirts online, but with everything else, there's a material shortage right now, and I've even had a lot of trouble getting some of the skirts that I tie. So I've been in contact with them. They're very nice people. They're just going through a rough time like the rest of us. So if I put some materials down there that you guys want to use, and you guys go over there and they don't have them, now you know why. Kind of take it easy on them, because they're doing their best over there to stay afloat. All right, anyway, with that all being said, let's get into today's jig. All right, guys, so for today's jig, we're going to be tying up probably my favorite jig of all time, and that's a swim jig. Swim jigs are my favorite because I live up here in the Northeast, so our lakes are filled with grass and boat docks. Unless we go upstate to Connecticut and stuff, we get some rocky lakes, and on those lakes I'll break out a football jig or a Midwest finesse jig. It depends, but for the most part, I got a swim jig tied on like 90% of the time, because I could do everything with it. I could skip it, I could flip it and pitch it in the grass and swim it out. I mean, it just does everything. And I'm really liking this head design as well. A buddy of mine poured a couple of these up for me, and I'm thinking about investing in this mold because it's awesome. It's called actually the It Molds Casting Jig, and it's definitely a swim jig though. If you look at it, it's got that vertical line tie. What I like about it is it has a spot where you could glue eyes on, so it gives it that realistic look. It's also got a great bait keeper on it, and it's got a super sharp hook. I got to ask him what he poured this with, but I think it's an owner hook, so it definitely looks like one. So, but I'll find out, and I'll put a link in the description below as to what hook he used. And then in the last two videos that we did, we only tied a single color skirt. Today we're going to be tying a dual color skirt. Using two skirts for this jig. And the first skirt we're going to be using is number 538. So this is like a living image green pumpkin blue. And what I love about this living image, if you look in the light, as it hits the light, you can see that little bit of shimmer and color change, and it's got a realistic effect to it. So I love this skirt. I use it for a lot of my jigs, and we're going to complement that with number 370, which is called Tobasco. And this is basically an orange green pumpkin with some black flake in it. So we're kind of going to use this for the belly, and then the green pumpkin blue for the top. And then we're going to top it off by gluing some blue eyes onto the jig. So, all right, guys, so now that you know what kind of jig we're tying today, let's get down to the vise and tie one on. All right, guys, so let's get this jig tied up. So first thing we're going to do, put the jig in the vise and clamp it down. All right, good. In there nice and tight. Center everything up. All right, so as always, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our thread, and we're going to tie on our base. So I just like to start wrapping a little bit, get a couple wraps going, flip it over, trap it. And I'm going to go a little quicker today than I did in the other two videos. And a lot of this information is in the first two videos. Cut this off, wrap it a couple more times. So how to start the base and all that stuff is going to be gone over a little more thoroughly in the first two videos. So go check those out if you guys want to see a little bit, you know, more slow version of this, but we're going to go a little quicker today. All right, so we got our base on there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to put our top skirt on. So again, this is that living image, green pumpkin blue. Just like I always do, I like to come down, put a couple wraps around, and then I want to make sure when I flip this over, it's going to match up. Pretty good there. It's not really going to make as much of a difference on this jig. I'll show you why, because with my finesse swim jigs, I like to cut the skirt a certain way. So we're going to pull a little bit this way. All right, good. All right, so now we got the skirt on there. What we want to do again is spread out our material so everything's nice and even. And again, especially with this jig, I'm going to be doing a different color on the bottom than the top. So I like to just go halfway around the jig, the top half of the jig. Make sure it's kind of even. And that looks pretty good. See, as you can see, it's even there and there. So I went halfway around. Once I got it where I want it, I'm going to make some wraps and kind of make the layer for my base for the rest of the jig. All right, good. That's pretty good. Now what we're going to do is tie on that bottom skirt. And again, what I like to do is pull this forward, match them up. And again, this is that Tobasco color. It's a real simple jig to tie. Match it up, come about halfway, do a couple wraps. Material came around a little bit. Do a couple wraps. And now we just want to make sure that it matches up, that those two colors meet up kind of in the middle of the jig on the side. So if you turn the jig to the side, we want to kind of make like a lateral line like you would for any, you know, like a bass has. And so what we're going to do is match these two colors up, kind of where the lateral line would be. And that'll give us a good even skirt on both sides. And you just got to play with it a little bit. It likes to build up on one side more than the other. That looks good. All right, and now what I want to do is I want to add a little bit more skirt. So I got one full tab on the top, one full tab on the bottom. We're going to take another half a tab on the top. We're going to put that in. Again, match them up, pull it across so they're even, and drop it in. And then make a couple wraps to trap it and spread our material out. That looks good. Just very important to make sure you take your time and make sure your material's even, especially with a swim jig, because you want the swim jig to swim straight through the water. So if you got your material all bunched up on one side and thin on the other, it's not going to swim straight. So take your time, spread your material out, make sure everything's nice and even. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to do a couple more wraps to trap it. These ones I'm going to make a little tighter because I got my top material on there. Good. And now let's get another half on the bottom. So let's open this up again. Good. Another half on the bottom. Pull this out even. Give me a little trouble, huh? There we go. All right. 1, 2 wraps, good. And then spread it out. There we go. That's looking pretty nice. All right. As you can see, we got our 2 different colors, how they meet together. You'll see it really comes together when the jig's done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my skirt back and I'm going to make some nice tight wraps here. And I'm going to make a good base. Nice tight wraps to hold the skirt together. Make sure you don't catch your material. It's okay to go nice and slow. So you're happy with it. All right, the collar looks good. Again, I'm just gonna lift the camera for a second because I forgot to grab something out of my box here that the camera's sitting on. All right, here we go. I forgot these. These are very important though. These help big time. So again, I want to whip finish now to finish the skirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these rubber things that I showed you in the last video, and I got these from Ace Hardware, and I like to take these and wrap them around the skirt in the front. And I take another one and I'll pull all this material back, and I'll wrap the back as well. There we go. Now everything's out of the way. Now I got room to work with. Now I'm going to take my 2 fingers. Again, let me just fix this. Take my 2 fingers and do my whip finish. Again, I went over this a little more thoroughly in the other videos. So if you want to check out the first 2 videos, you'll see how I do the whip finish by hand. But I like to do 2 of them, wrap 5 or 6 times. Good. Pull it nice and tight, cinch it down. Good. All right, now we're going to cut. Good. Next thing we're going to do, take our Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails, and we're going to seal up our threads. Make sure we don't trip it all over. All right. And again, that's where I like to rotate the vise. Makes it nice and easy so I can see what I'm doing. Just hit that with the clear nail polish. And this stuff dries hard as a rock, so you don't have to worry about your threads ever coming out. All right, let that sit there for a second. We'll take our skirt material out. There we go. All right, we removed our ties. What we're going to do next is we're going to trim our skirt. And I'm just taking these tabs. You can see the tab where it comes together, and it's kind of where they separate here, and then it becomes solid. I just like to cut right along that line. See, and then it opens up all your tabs. Cut right along the line. And again, see, solid tab here. And then I like to just take my scissors, cut right along this line here, and boom, now it opens right up. All right, so I'm going to do that for the back. And it goes quick once you get used to it. All right, so there's our skirt. Now, what I like to do for these swim jigs, this is just my preference. You could leave the full skirt on here like this if you like a full skirted swim jig. I like my swim jigs a little bit more finesse, and I don't like all this material back here to mess with my trailer. Like with all this material, when I put the trailer on the back, it just goes over the trailer and it covers it just a little too much. It's too many strands. So what I like to do, and I'm actually gonna, I could do it on the vise, I guess. I like to come just behind where I made my collar, maybe like a 1/4 inch, and cut the material off. I got one of my, that's all right. I got one of my fronts. That's all right though. All right, here we go. Again, pull this up. I like to come back and cut this off. I guess I could use the rotary. There we go. Rotary function definitely helps. All right. See how I cut all that off there? I just like that because now when I put my trailer on, it doesn't have any effect on the action. And I mean, that's tied in there. I could literally would have to rip this skirt in order for it to, you know, to come out. But then when I open it up, it still has a very finesse skirt to it. See? So this is how I like my swim jigs. I don't like too much skirt on them. I don't want to mess with the action. So so that's how I like to finesse cut mine. Now if I wanted to go a little bit thicker of a sorry, I had to hit my low power mode on my phone. If I want a little bit thicker of a skirt, I will leave the back on. But I just feel like it swims better and stuff when I cut it like this. So all right. So next thing we got to do, we got two things left to do. I'm going to put this back in the vise before I make a mess. Okay, I'm going to pull the skirt material back. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in our wee guard. All right, so here's our wee guard here, ready to go. And then again, what I like to do, I like to take this Loctite super glue. I like to put a little dab on the head here. Perfect. I like to put just a little drop inside. There we go. I like to put glue in the two spots and then push it together and let them bond. Perfect. All right, so now we got our wee guard in. We'll let that dry up a little bit. And next thing we got to do is we got to throw the eyes on here. So I'm going to grab my eyes. We're going to use these blue eyes. I actually got these from a buddy of mine who gets them from a website. So I'll find out what the website is, and I'll put a link to these as well down below. But these are just basically blue eyes. So I'm going to take one off. They're sticky on the back. They do have like a sticker material on the back with a little bit of glue. So what I like to do is take a little bit of that Loctite super glue. I mean a little bit. You want to be very careful. That's why I like how it squeezes on the side here, because you could really control the flow of it. And you literally just want the tiniest dab on there. Just to make a little bead. That's it. Perfect. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that little bead right there is all you need. That's it. Anything more and you're going to make a mess. Then I like to take the eye as best I can. Put it right over that bead. It's on there. And then I like to take my scissors. I like to close them. And I like to I like to move it right where I want it. And just put down a little pressure. And hold it for a couple seconds. And that's it. Perfect. And you'll let that dry, and I'm telling you, it's not coming off. It's not coming off. They hold really well. It's perfect. Okay, let's do the other side. All right, again, I'm going to take the tiniest. Let's see if I can get this on camera. All right, let me see. So the tiniest little dab of super glue that you could get on there. Little drop. So you make a little bead on there. I don't know if you could see it in the camera, but just a little bead. Then we take our blue eye, put it right over that bead. Try not getting any on our fingers. And once you put it on there, it kind of just bonds together real quick, so it doesn't really go all over. And then you want to take the tip of your scissors and just put down a little pressure for like 4 or 5 seconds. You don't want to push down too hard because then the glue from underneath will go all over the place. There we go. Put down a little pressure, and then you could even take your finger, push it down. And that's how you put the eyes on without getting glue all over the head. Okay? And See if I can zoom us in. Actually, I'm going to take this out of the vise and show you guys. Oh, one more thing I like to do. And again, you can leave these long, but I like to bring my weed guard down just where it's going to cover, the point of the hook. I mean, not the point, the barb. And I like to cut this straight across. Hold on, let me just get the measurement again. There it is right there. Boom. Perfect. It just barely passes over the barb. And that's it. Let's take it out of the vise. All right, and that's what we have. You got those blue eyes, and you got that orange belly, and then you got that green pumpkin blue on the top. And this is a really nice jig. It imitates a bluegill or a pumpkin seed really well, or even a perch. I mean, it really imitates all three really well, you know. And you got the one color on the belly and the other color on the top. And yeah, it swims really nice, skips really nice. And yeah, I've caught a lot of fish on this color jig. So one of my favorite patterns to throw. All right, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Again, throw me a like if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.